feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a...
The day the curtain fell, but he kept bowing anyway. Taehyung stands alone again as HYBE's silence grows louder than the applause. Some artists arrive like explosions. But Taehyung arrived like a sunrise, slow, gold, and impossible to ignore. He didn't knock. He entered the world's heart quietly, without scandal, without demand. Just a boy with jazz in his soul and galaxies in his gaze. But now he stands under lights that no longer feel warm. And the applause that once wrapped around him like a hug has started to echo in strange directions. Because when storms gather around his name, HYBE disappears. The weight of an empty backstage. There is a special kind of loneliness that only exists in the spaces where love used to be loud. Where words of protection should be printed, only white noise remains. And so when the headlines sharpen like knives, Taehyung doesn't flinch. He walks. He bows. He smiles like someone who's used to holding glass with bare hands. And behind him? Nothing. No agency. No letter. Not even a flicker of official care. Just army. Patching up what the system keeps letting bleed. Kindness isn't a shield, it's a wound. Taehyung never raised his voice. Not when he was misquoted. Not when he was accused. Not even when the silence around him began to feel like punishment. He simply did what he always does. Gave more. He walked through airports like they were battlegrounds. He stood on stages like they were confession booths. He let the world take pictures, even when it refused to see the man behind the lens. And people mistook that for strength. But it was endurance. And endurance, left unprotected, turns into a kind of quiet agony. Where the management ends, the fans begin. Every time HYBE says nothing, fans say everything. They trend hashtags like lifelines. They build walls out of love to shield him from noise. They speak louder because the people paid to protect him won't. And what they ask for is small. A gesture. A sentence. A statement that says, "We are here. We will not let him bleed alone." But HYBE's silence has become a brand. Polished. Cold. Corporate. And deeply, deeply cruel. The myth of equal armor. There are shields. But they don't all go to the ones who need them most. Some artists are wrapped in policies. Others are wrapped in politics. Taehyung is wrapped in nothing but his own gentleness. And ARMY has started to notice. When others stumble, the machine responds. But when Taehyung's name trends for the wrong reasons, the office lights stay off. The inbox stays shut. And the silence begins to hum like betrayal. Art isn't meant to suffer this way. Taehyung still creates. Even with cuts on his soul and no hand to hold. He paints. He writes. He shares photographs of twilight skies and trembling smiles. He whispers beauty into a world that keeps handing him bitterness. But even the strongest artist can't outrun the cost of being alone. He shouldn't have to fold his pain into poetry, just to make it palatable for the public. What the world is starting to understand. This isn't just about one man. This is about every artist who has ever been told. Be graceful. Be quiet. Be strong. While being left to bleed in the dark. It's about the lie that kindness is enough. That if you smile sweetly, you will be spared. Taehyung has smiled endlessly. And all it has gotten him is the job of defending himself. When silence becomes a reputation. If HYBE keeps watching without speaking, their silence won't remain neutral. It will become a character trait. A failure too visible to edit away. One day the story will be told like this. Taehyung kept creating. The fans kept shouting. But the company never moved. And that will stain deeper than any scandal. Still he bows, but it shouldn't be alone. He still bows after performances. He still signs albums with the gentleness of someone raised by love. He still believes in connection, even as the people behind him look the other way. But bowing alone shouldn't be part of anyone's job description. Because even the strongest star eventually needs a constellation to stand beside. Final notes in a symphony of neglect. Maybe Taehyung will never say how much it hurt. Maybe he believes that dignity is quieter than rage. But the fans see it. They hear it in the silence between his words. They feel it in the way his smile sometimes pauses, just a second too long. And they're done pretending silence is harmless. Because if HYBE can't protect the softest among them, then what hope is there for anyone else?
Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
The day the curtain fell, but he kept bowing anyway. Part 2. Still no statement from HYBE, but Taehyung's silence becomes a protest in itself. Silence is not always the absence of words. Sometimes it's the loudest scream of all. The story should have ended by now. A statement. A gesture. A hand on his shoulder. Something to say, "We see you, Taehyung." But nothing came. And so the silence stretched. It curled under the doorways of fan cafes, echoed in hashtags, and spilled into music shows and fashion runways, reminding everyone that the artist is still here. Still waiting. Still bowing. But now his bow has changed. It is no longer a symbol of grace. It is becoming something else entirely. A protest made of poise. When applause feels like pity, the crowd still cheer. The cameras still flash. But for those who look closely, there's a tremor beneath the glamour. Taehyung isn't just performing anymore. He's enduring. He isn't just dressing in elegance. He's arming himself in it. Every tailored coat, every perfectly tousled curl, every soft smile at the airport. They are not just aesthetics. They are armor. And this, perhaps, is the quietest heartbreak. That the man who made vulnerability beautiful is now forced to wear beauty as a shield. A quiet revolution in every step. He walks alone not for drama, but because the people meant to walk beside him won't move. So he moves anyway. Forward. Always forward. Without a PR team clapping behind him. Without an agency holding an umbrella when it rains. Taehyung's every step has become a revolution wrapped in rhythm. A lesson in what it means to continue. When you're supposed to collapse. The stage is still his. But he carries it now. On his back. Not a scandal, but a systemic symptom. This isn't about one incident. No blurred photo. No wild rumor. No one-day drama. This is about neglect. The kind that creeps in slowly. Professionally. Politely. The kind that can't be screenshot. But is felt in every missed opportunity to defend him. And fans, no matter how kind or loyal, are beginning to ask the questions HYBE won't answer. Why is silence the default when it comes to him? Why must the softest one always carry the heaviest load? Why is the artist with the purest heart made to fight the coldest battles? The artist who became his own advocate. Some stars have teams. Taehyung has timing. He posts when it hurts. He paints when they go quiet. He sings when the world gets too loud. Every artistic act is not just creation. It's survival. And this, perhaps, is the cruelest twist of all. That even in pain, he's expected to make beauty. Even in betrayal, he's expected to entertain. And yet he does. But not for them. For us. For the people who see past the photo shoots. For the fans who recognize the ache in his eyes. A fan base that's tired of speaking first. ARMY was never just a fandom. They were family. Backbone. Mirror. But mirrors, too, can crack under weight. And fans are starting to ask. Why must we always speak before his company does? Why do we know how to protect him better than the people paid to do so? They have written threads that should have been press releases. They've organized support that should have been management. They've built barricades of love while the professionals sat silent. They are loyal. But they are also tired. Because defending someone you love shouldn't feel like fighting a company. When the contract is one-sided, Taehyung has upheld his end of the deal. He promoted. He performed. He remained scandal-free. But where is the protection he was promised? Where is the agency that claims to build artists into legends? Or is the truth more brutal? That some contracts only go one way? And if that's the case, then the public is not witnessing a mistake. They're witnessing a pattern. He speaks through art, because no one else will. When he can't say it, he sings it. When he can't scream it, he posts it in midnight tones. When the system fails him, he draws worlds where he can finally be free. And fans listen. Not because he asks them to, but because they've learned how to read between the frames. They know what a silent photo at 2 a.m. means. They know the language of trembling piano notes. They know when a caption is more than a caption. They hear what HYBE won't say. They answer what HYBE won't ask. They love what HYBE won't protect. This is more than a moment, it's a mirror. This isn't just about Taehyung anymore. This is about every artist who's ever been told to be strong, while they were falling apart behind stage curtains. This is about every act of quiet dignity that goes unnoticed until it breaks. This is about K-pop's obsession with perfection, and the price paid by the soft ones who don't fit the mold. And Taehyung? He's the mirror the industry doesn't want to look into. But still, the artist walks. Despite it all, he walks. Not as an idol, not as a celebrity, but as a survivor in silk. And the world watches. Because the world knows. You can silence statements. You can control press. But you cannot mute authenticity. And in a landscape of noise, Taehyung's quiet truth rings louder than ever. Final whisper. He doesn't need a scandal to be defended. He doesn't need to cry to be believed. He shouldn't have to scream to be protected. He simply deserves care. Because the curtain may have fallen, but he's still bowing, braver than ever. And if his own company won't clap for him, the world will.